Hi! Hello ladies, gents, and fan art maniacs. It's another speed paint. This one took about 2 hours. His poor defunct Paco for the death compilation. Number 11. Only temporarily defunct, of course. He's just about to respawn, so it's not a big deal. This one took about 2 hours. I just say that. I'm pretty sure I just said that. The main struggle with this one was just getting that pose correctly. He started out looking like a bit of a chubster. It was pretty damn difficult to get the perspective right. I don't think I ended up with something that is 100% correct, but through iteration, not iteration. Iteration is for uncultured swine. Through iteration, I was able to get a pose that I was somewhat happy with. Very happy with digital painting, being able to select and resize. It is so much nicer than just having to scrap the whole thing and have to redo it because it just doesn't look right. You can just select, resize a certain aspect, make it look slightly better. Once you get a nice little blurry sketch, it's time for that line art, and feel pretty damn good about the process right now. I've got this same workflow set up pretty nicely, but because it's like it's a process for only for the thumbnails. Like if I was trying to do some kind of big ass painting, the highest ability I can possibly do, I would take much longer with trying to get that line art down. But for the most part, I'm just trying to get an outline for the coloring. It's you can take a lot of shortcuts here, and it's very much just like the other one, trying to keep it in a reasonable time frame. I feel like I spent more time trying to browse for things to listen to than I did actually working on it, but that is absolutely not true. Of course, always grabbing that Splunky reference, trying to make everything as true to the game as possible. I've drawn this shotgun a good 20 times by now. You still gotta pull from the reference from the game, otherwise it's just not going to look right. Something that feels like cheating a little bit when you first start. You're like, I should just be drawing from imagination. What's wrong with me? I can't just get it right just from the top of my head. But that's something that is in fact a problem with I want to say newbies, because I still consider myself a newbie. A problem with people that are starting to get art done. It's like they get in their head that you must get it done from imagination, otherwise you're bad. And that's something that all the tutorials, all the people that know what they're doing tell you very much early on. Like, let go of that mentality. That's nonsense. You have to look at something to know what it's like. And the only time you're going to be drawing from your own imagination is when you have literal thousands of hours of experience that you no longer need to look at it, because there's so many details. There's so many little things that matter a lot, but that you don't think about unless you see them in a picture of reality. My first concept for this thumbnail that I let go of because I figured it's too much work. I don't want to do that. I want to get it done fast. It was going to be everything that can kill Paco in the frame. I'm going to put a bunch of mummy flies. I'm going to have a thwomp coming in from one side. I'm going to have maybe a Hawkman trying to punch him. All kinds of threats closening to Paco. And I think that's still the better concept. But then I was like, ugh. I don't want to do all that. I want to, a big goal of these is to get it done quickly with a standard of quality that is good, but not being the priority, just good enough. That is the motto of these thumbnails. And I feel like in 2 hours, it was pretty well accomplished. It was a well accomplished goal. Of course, you gotta get all the colors right. So I am pulling from all the Splunky assets and my previous drawings as well to make them consistent. Pretty happy. You know what I'm happiest about this drawing? The shoes, the shape of the shoes. I feel like the soles of those shoes are damn good. I mean, obviously, there's always room for improvement. Like, I look at something and the first thing you see is the flaws or something that should be a little bit better. Like, I see like the perspective on the legs is a little strange, especially his right leg. It's like, I think he looks a little too fat there. Maybe it should be a little bit thinner. Maybe the legs should be a little longer. Maybe I think there should be more foreshortening, so it looks like it's more stretched out toward the viewer, but overall, happy with it. I'm very, very pleased with it. The arrow there was like the direction of the light. Sometimes I needed to remind myself where's the light coming from, but I don't try to get it like 100% accurate. I feel like if this was more realistic, there should be more shadow coming from the hat onto the figure. But then I was like, if I do that, the figure is going to be too dark, so I wanted to pop out more. So I'm going to ignore a little bit the shadow that should be cast from the hat in favor of getting more contrast, more light onto the body. The hat here, trying to get the coloring right, I don't think that I made it 100%, but this is a lot of trial and error, this part, where I'm trying to get the colors on the hat right. It's just trying things, darkening areas, putting light on others until it looks somewhat decent, and only until the very end, where I put the final shadows on it, did I finally feel that it came together. Right here in this stage, I'm like, it just doesn't look right, but I'm going to move on. Just keep piling on colors, keep piling on highlights, and trying to make it look good. And that's something that is another part of the mentality of doing art. Because my wife, she often tells me, I try, but I get so frustrated, I just stop. And I tell her, you just gotta keep going. You gotta keep going. She's not very artfully inclined, but she has tried a few times. She's like, oh, I can't draw. You gotta push through that. So often, so many times. I would say 100% of the things that I try to draw, they look like trash for the first half. It just doesn't look right. I think there's no way I'm going to do it. There's no way I can pull this off. It looks like garbage. I can't get it done. But you gotta keep pushing through that, and eventually it comes to a point where maybe not magically comes together, but there's a threshold where your brain goes, hey, this looks all right. And then from there, you can keep going and improving that. So that's like possibly the number one thing if you're trying to improve your art, or if you're trying to draw something that you have in your head, it's just not coming out. Just keep throwing your forehead against that wall. Here, the hand, I also struggled quite a bit, but I also was like, this hand looks okay. I could leave it with the flat line, and that's fine. But I want to try to make it a little bit better. And I do notice like the knuckles are a little too low. The highlight of the knuckles should be a little higher, I think. And the shadows should be a little different. Like the highlight of the bones inside the hand, they don't match the knuckles. So a little bit of room for improvement there. And I decided to leave what are you going to call the stuff on top of the, I guess, beads, the shiny beads on top of the mariachi hat. I left it for the end because it's a little tedious. It's easy, but it's also tedious, but it's also satisfying because it kind of brings up and makes the hat real. It's what really makes the hat of Paco. Here's the final stage with the higher contrast shadows. I really like this stage. Like I said before, it's very satisfying because it's easy and there's big results with just a couple strokes. You can tell the big difference, especially like the hat. This is the stage that brought the hat a little bit of three-dimensionality. Of course, he's dead. He's been through a few scrapes, so he is blood-stained all over. That was the plan for the start, and that's another thing that you need to mentalize yourself. It's like you need to compartmentalize the stages of your painting. You can't just go straight to, oh, he's going to be bloody, so I'm going to make him bloody for the start. It's like you gotta tell yourself, no, that's the final stage. Don't worry about that. It's going to look nice at the end. I cannot tell you how many blood stains I have drawn. It's kind of disturbing, the number of blood stains that have piled up. Feel like I've gone quite proficient at the entire bloodstain process. Really like the splatter on the back, even though the arrow doesn't match the direction of the arrow in his flank doesn't match the direction of the smack against the wall behind him. Let's just say that the arrows hit him. He hit the wall at a side and then he slid down, but then sat, and that's final position. And then goes the title. Trying to make the A to be like something that he hit against. Feel pretty good about this one. Is not nearly as big or flashy as the previous one, but you know, sometimes you make something smaller, something more minimalistic. I also went against making a big background because, again, it would have taken more time. This is more stylized. Just get that black background. Plus points for less work, plus points for maybe popping more against the background that may have been muddled in a different version. Who knows? Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that one. I'm gonna try to make it a regular thing to make a speed paint for any kind of a thumbnail or involved piece of art that I create. So hopefully you stick around for the next one. In the meantime, you can check out my new book. You can check out all the other videos on this channel or on the other channel where I play other games that I enjoy. There's so much entertainment to be had. Hopefully you find something that tickles your fancy.